So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, hi, fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. It's Neil and Paddy again today. Thanks be to Jesus, I don't have to do all the talking on my own because I feel like I've been doing nothing. Like even before the City game, I was doing nothing but podcasts, and since then it's been mad. It's been great to be able to talk about some positivity after that City game. But Paddy is back, and I am delighted to have him. And Paddy is going to be giving his unabridged uninterrupted, nothing to do with me, City review today. I put him on the spot. It was so hilarious. We were putting this podcast together. Paddy messaged me and said, we kind of have to do a review of City. You know, we can't let that one lie. And I was like, no, let's not do a review of that at all. Fuck it. It's completely out of it's gone completely out to the side of my mind now. I have other things to be thinking about. Paddy was there, no. So then when I did up the artwork today, I said, and Paddy's City review, threw him under the bus. So
yeah, well, the problem with you is you've recorded that many podcasts, you've talked about it to death.
Yeah, well, actually, I spoke about it once on the Villa View. It was the hot in the heels. I think Villa knew what they were doing in breaking the news about Boubacar Kamara since then. So it's that kind of softened the blow for me anyway. Because it was one of those things whereby, you know, I woke up and the day afterwards and I went, we weren't supposed to win it anyway. You know, so if
well, that's what makes it worse.
Yeah,
for me, it makes it worse. Right. No.
Well, Paddy, if memory serves me right, and it does serve me right because it's burnt and it's indelible in the back of my mind. You said a hilarious thing on the podcast, and I completely dismissed it. And for 70 minutes, it was true, whereby we will be beating City and Liverpool will be failing to beat Wolves. And I was going, my God, Paddy has a crystal ball.
Well, we set up well enough to do it, didn't we? I think that was probably the longest of a performance he's got out of us, with the exception of Southampton and Norwich, who were just poor. But I don't think we played that well.
And Leeds at home.
And Leeds, yeah. Well, I don't think we even got 70 minutes out of Leeds. They had a purple patch as well. So 70 minutes, got it right. And then we'll get on to
the 3-0 against Leeds was pretty comfortable the second game.
Did they not have a purple patch just after half time for about 20 minutes? Maybe so. Can't remember. You see, the ones you win don't matter. It's the one that loses drives you nuts.
This is it. You're 100% right. Yeah, you're 100% right.
So, but it's just, look, it's 48 hours on now, and I've calmed down, but I'm still annoyed. I'm still bitterly disappointed at how it transpired out. And you know what? It would have been karma had we hung on and won, and Liverpool not got what they needed out of that game, because I think it's they're totally to blame for Man City's mindset. If they had gone ahead, I think Man City would have panicked, but they waited until we went behind before they went ahead. So anyway, Liverpool game has nothing got to do with us, but we're here to talk about it, and that was part of it, unfortunately.
It's a funny one though, Paddy. I thought directly after the game that I would still be talking about that game come the 1st of August. I thought no matter, like, I genuinely had it, like, I texted into the group, I said, they've finally broken me. Me, Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows and fucking unicorn shit. That's me, like, you know, I like Mr. Positivity. I goes, they've broken me. And then about 10 minutes afterwards, I went, yeah, actually, you know what? It's not as bad as I thought it could have been. You know, look, at the end of the day, we finished 14th in the league. It would have been grand. We might have been able to finish 12th. We still weren't going to eclipse 11th. In the greater scheme of things, it would have been nice to win against one of the top 6. But, you know, there's worse things happen at sea, I suppose, than that game last day of the season. I suppose, really, when I thought about it and I sat down and in the cold light the day afterwards, I went, I was probably more waiting for the incoming barrage of Liverpool sporting mates to turn around and say to me, you know, what did you do, you Egypts? Why did you leave a 2-goal lead slip? And I think that's really the only reason I was feeling so so grumpy after the game. And isn't it mad when you sit and you reflect, and sometimes it's the sad little things like that, the kind of the intrinsic back of your mind things that probably get you. Yeah, it wasn't nice to lose a 2-goal lead. It never is. But it seems to be what Aston Villa of the last 5 years do. Or as Aston Villa of 2020, 2021, 2022 do anyway. So it's not
Well,
good.
it's the second time this season we've been 2-0 up and threw away the game with, it was only 10 minutes to go the last time. I was at the game against Wolves, and 20 minutes this time. I think what annoys me the most is our integrity was questioned from midweek with that spurious tweet about getting 15 million for Man City winning the league. And I think if we'd have hung on, it would have been a 2 fingers to the people who are throwing that in our faces now. Not too many of them, mind you. I don't think anyone really believes that that's the case. But absolute mayhem would have ensued if we'd have won the game. I think I felt so sorry for the fans that were there. Not only did Sky Sports turn down their sound, which absolutely annoyed the shit out of me on
Does
Sunday.
that really happen?
It does.
Because
Neil, if you remember,
said it to me.
If you remember, I sent you a video during the season where I
You
switched
did.
from beIN Sports to Sky Sports, and it was like going from an All Ireland final hurling match to a game of cricket. That was the difference. So
now you've got me. Now I know what you're talking about, Paddy.
But you know, I watch. You know, we plug in the laptop and we watch whatever we can over here to try and see the games live.
Yeah.
And you know, when you flick between the two, it's just chalk and cheese. Like, it's incredible. And I don't get why they keep apologizing about people cursing and swearing. You know, if people don't want their kids listening to swearing, don't bring them to football. Bring them to ballet. You know, this is part of the game. Obviously, it's not ideal, but that to me is why it's torn down. You're getting a TV program. You're not getting the full experience. And if you were to pay for it, you pay bloody through the nose to have subscriptions in order to watch all the games. So at least you can get is the full experience. But yeah. Anyway, we've moved on from what it is. But the fans were brilliant on Sunday. Everybody that was there, all my friends said it was absolutely brilliant for 70 minutes. But sure, what can you do? We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah, Paddy, I don't know. I've been to a couple of rough ballets myself in my time, so I wouldn't be disparaging that as a thing. Maybe, maybe the Limerick ballets that I've been to have been the more foul-mouthed ballets of.
Are you sure there were ballets?
Oh, you said. Oh, sorry. I thought you said bare knuckle boxing, Matt. Sorry. I wasn't sure. Sorry. The headphones broken.
Well, I thought you were confusing ballet with pole dancing or something like that. But anyway.
Excuse me, Paddy. That's very presumptuous. I won't have any Limerick slander had on this podcast. Thank you very much. But no, look, I suppose let's kind of go back and let's do the City review and we'll get into some transfers afterwards. But let's look back at the way the team started. We did the team sheet tantrum. We're pretty happy with it. Actually, we did the team sheet tantrum. I saw somebody who was on our team sheet tantrum there as well. Kevin Hunter popped on the team sheet tantrum, and I'm delighted he did because he said, Jesus, even looking at the lads still reminds me of the hangover. I couldn't imagine the way you guys felt anyway the next morning afterwards because you guys put down a great time of it. Fair play, and thanks a million for popping on. I really appreciate it. It was great to chat to you guys. For sure, yourself and Brett Bates. And for anybody who has seen anything to do with Aston Villa, I would imagine on social media, specifically anything to do with the North American Lions meetup, the guys raised an absolute fortune. 24, I think it's over 24 grand, I think, for Acorns at the moment. Yeah. Like, if you think about it, that's the industrial wage in Ireland and the UK. That they raised that over a weekend for charity. That's amazing. Incredible stuff. And fair play to you guys. Yeah, listen, look, I'd be patronizing you if I said anything else. Like, you guys did it, and you guys made a great day of it and a great weekend of it. And it's one thing to be able to go drinking from Thursday to Sunday, but it's another thing to do it and to to have a good cause coming out the back end of it as well. So thanks very much for all your efforts and that. And I know that Acorns will make a good home for that donation for sure.
Absolutely. And
Um,
the Lions Club network in North America is absolutely phenomenal. If you're living over there and you're listening to this, reach out to the guys. I think there's one in most populated areas. There's even a couple in the likes of New York and Illinois and places like that. So there's never one too far away from you. And it's throughout the world. The Lions Club network is there. And as you know, the Lions Club network is very close to my heart, so we got that in there. But yes, absolutely brilliant, absolute brilliant for them all to get together after 2 years where they couldn't meet, and then to get back. And as you mentioned, 24,000. That 24,000 could put somebody in a full-time position in Acorns for a year. So when you think of it on that level, it's absolutely huge.
That's exactly it. And yeah. That's why I mentioned it. And sorry, thanks, William, for finishing my sentence because I completely forgot to do it. But that's a wage for somebody. That keeps somebody in a role that makes a massive difference to a lot of people.
Absolutely. So anyway, we go back to our team sheet tantrum, and when the guys came on, I suppose the one standout thing from the team sheet tantrum was that we didn't start with Marvelous Nakamba, and for a lot of us, and me included, you'd probably look at it and go, "Oh, is that a bit naive? Are we going to get overrun in midfield?" And no, he got it absolutely spot on from the start. The tactics were absolutely spot on. We kept City on the back foot. We kept Coutinho high enough that they kept two men looking after him. As a result, we saw Watkins get one-on-one a few times. So it worked. It absolutely worked. And pat in the back for that, Mr. Gerrard, because you're going to get a kick in the hole when we get to the 70th minute.
Yeah. I had no qualms with the team that went out and it started. I had no qualms with the way we played first half. First half, I thought we were brilliant. I thought they'd excuse me very much, but I thought they had no answer to us in the first half, none whatsoever. They huffed and puffed, and I thought Foden was getting really frustrated. And yeah, absolutely no qualms. No qualms.
Yeah.
Halftime comes.
And they were frustrated.
Still no qualms.
When you've got Foden and Mahrez, who have been brilliant this season, not get a look in whatsoever in that first half, to the extent that Mahrez was eventually taken off. We really did give them a rattle. We could have been 3-0 up at half time. It was that good, but we wasted opportunities, probably cost us in the end. That and the fact that we took Coutinho off, which annoyed the hell out of me. But we'll go through the goals first. It was great, amazing to see Matty Cash get himself into what was he, about 7 or 8 yards out. Incredible.
Header.
Yeah,
I didn't think he would do that to his beautiful hair.
Yeah, well, he did. Brilliant ball as usual. We expect that now from Luca Dean. He's an absolute unbelievable crosser of the ball. Imagine what it'd be like now if we bring in a big striker to head those in.
Doesn't need to be a big striker, Paddy.
Well, a
striker just needs to be a striker that knows how to be in the right position at the right time. A nuisance of a striker.
Yeah, and on Sunday it was Matty Cash who put in the work to get himself into that position, and through the celebration, I couldn't believe when I actually looked at it and it was Matty Cash that scored the goal. So I watched the game in a pub in Mayo, myself and my son. We were up there with the family. We were due to come back earlier, but we didn't. So I had to make do with a pub which was split in two. One half, all Man United fans cheering for Man City, and the other half were all Liverpool fans. And one Birmingham City fan sitting at the bar, proud as punch in his jersey. Couldn't believe it. Claremorris, County Mayo, has a Birmingham City fan. I was just like, oh my God.
The only prick in the village.
Yeah. And the look he gave me and Stephen when we jumped up when we scored. It was incredible. But
he was immediately outnumbered.
One Birmingham City fan and the rest were Man United fans. And then yeah, the Liverpool fans out in the other section of the bar looking in. So really weird atmosphere. Not what I would have expected it to be, but I'm sure the Man United fans just didn't want Liverpool rubbing their nose in it. So as a result, the minute the final whistle was gone, I was gone out the door after it.
Yeah. And like, you know, we're talking about Matty Cash's goal there. It was really well worked. It was completely against their own play, you know. Like when Matty Cash scored the goal, I expected there to be a whistle and the goal to be disallowed, and then all of a sudden it did. He kept on running towards Dina to celebrate, and I was like, "What? Did we just go 1-0 up?" And I first thing I did is I didn't even celebrate. I put up my phone and I just started messaging lads. There were Liverpool fans going, "Oh Jesus, we might be doing this for you," kind of a situation. Like it was like I know I was saying that we'd do you solid, but I never really believed it up until that moment. And then of course, the second goal goes in. Second goal was a really good goal. I've been speaking about how Coutinho has, you know, these amazing statistics of scoring goals from outside the box, and we finally got one from him. Finally got one from him.
And you know, it was amazing to see the link up play there with him and Watkins. You know, Watkins got in a couple of times and just couldn't finish. But Coutinho gets one of those chances and boom, bottom corner. Brilliant finish, absolutely brilliant finish. And you're just scratching your head at that stage to go, how the hell is this happening? We can't score one against Man City usually, and all of a sudden we're 2-0 up. And at that stage, you couldn't see any way back in for Man City. You know, Coutinho gets the ball down, takes the touch out from the defender, and
and Shane is right. What a touch! Like,
incredible,
underrated touch.
Yeah.
The finish was brilliant, but the touch makes it.
Absolutely. And look, it's nice that he signed off this season, reminding us of what he's there for and reminding us why he's going to get the big bucks. And, you know, with Man City so committed to try and score goals, we'll have many more times when Coutinho will find himself in that position with better players potentially around him in the coming years. So from that point of view, the future is bright. But then we look at the complete naivety to within 4 minutes later he takes off Coutinho. And in my mind, I just slumped into the chair because I was just like, that is a big mistake, because he kept two of them busy. And the minute he went off, they were just all over us. And I don't know whether you remember, but I shared on our WhatsApp group that I cashed out my winning bet and I cashed out my drawn bet at that exact point, because I just thought that is
2-1.
Absolute madness of a
2-1
substitution.
or 2-0? Like, were we still up 2-0 when you cashed it out?
We were 2-0 up, yeah.
Really? Was it that early? Jeez, I thought it was 2-1.
No, it was 2-0. I just went in and went, nah, this isn't happening today, and I was bang on. So that's the only evidence I have to say I was bang on at the time. It's just, I just thought it was a crazy decision. If he'd have taken off Buendia, I would have went, yeah, okay, he struggled to get into the game. But Coutinho, they were just afraid of their lives at Coutinho. And obviously there was a reason for it. And there he was to bang one in, you know, when he got his opportunity. So, yeah, and then it was the Alamo after that, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. You know, we just completely lost our shape. We lost our leadership. We looked massively out of steam. Gerrard said we went into protection mode too early. When he says that, I think he feels that he knows himself that he went into protection mode too early, bringing on.
Well, you gotta hope that's an admission that he was wrong to do what he did.
I think it was. I wouldn't. Personally, I didn't read too much in the lines. I think he knew. I think he was beating himself up over it, and he said "we" because, like, and I know this is going to sound a bit silly because he's throwing the players, throwing the players to the lines previously in the past. But I think I think it's always a "we" with him, really, because I think he knows that from being a captain, and I know sometimes that he speaks out of turn. I think he's learning to speak more inclusively as a singular unit, and I think that's probably a rookie manager learning. And I think this is probably one time when he meant it the way that it was supposed to be meant, as opposed to sometimes when he gets hot-headed maybe and says, oh, there's a couple of players out there that didn't play really well. I think he's probably been reined in on that now that he's in the Premier League and you've got all these eyes on it and you don't want agents and people talking about it. Might be fine in Scotland, and once again, don't want to be disparaging the Scottish League because it does have a lot of eyes in it, but the Premier League is attracting everyone. The Scottish League is attracting a portion of that, and I think that's fair to say. So I think maybe he's been reined in from the media side of things to kind of talk about the club, and not throw players under the bus. That was just my view on it, but once again, I could be thinking too much into it from my side of the coin too.
Well, like there was nobody to throw under. I didn't feel there was anybody to throw under the bus on Sunday, other than himself on what he done. The decision was absolute madness to end up in that situation where your one substitution puts us completely on the back foot, and at that stage we just couldn't cope. It just spiraled out of control. I'd like to give Robin Olsen a shout out. He had a difficult enough start, but I thought he grew into the game. It must have been a really nervy one for him to just step into being a title decider and everything else. But he's given us a little snippet into, well, he's an international goalkeeper, so he's obviously a good goalkeeper, because it's quite obvious we're going to sign him in the next few days. So he's given us just a little bit of an insight into what he's about, and I wouldn't be too upset if he did sign him on a permanent basis.
There was actually a comment there, and I don't disagree with it either. He's a fine player, don't get me wrong. Backup goalkeeper. You need a good backup goalkeeper. And actually, do you know what? Today I was only thinking about it. The amount of good backup goalkeepers that Spurs have had. I think Spurs perennially have the best goalkeeper room in the Premier League, and they may never need to use it. But like today they were linked to it, and it's most likely that they're going to sign Fraser Forster as their backup goalkeeper. Fraser Forster was being talked about being England goalkeeper at one stage when he was with Southampton. Absolutely. When he was with Celtic, and now he's going to be backup goalkeeper. They've had Brad Friedel, they've had Gazaniga, if that's his name. They've had Gulini. They've got some very, 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 very competent goalkeepers. And I think for years it's been slept on that, oh, well, if your goalkeeper goes down, you're fucked kind of a situation. Apologies for the language, but that, if your goalkeeper goes down, you're goosed. But it's a case whereby now teams are going, no, if your goalkeeper goes down, there's enough good ones out there. Then Michel Vorm, another guy as well. He was starting goalkeeper for Swansea when they first came up. And he played 2 seasons. And then all of a sudden decided to move to Spurs for cash. And it was their sub goalkeeper. And at one stage he was like their 4th choice goalkeeper.
Yeah.
It was madness, like crazy stuff. But you need a good stable of goalkeepers. And to have an international guy in Olsen there, I don't know how good he is. I've got to be honest with you. I don't. I do a lot of scouting reviews and players. I like to look at statistical analysis and stuff like that of players. I couldn't tell you whether a goalkeeper is good or bad. If they save a shot, they're good. And I think very much a goalkeeper is only as good as the day that they're playing the game, because they can have good days and they can have bad days, and there's some days that they'll be fantastic. If you were to tell me after the first 14 minutes that Robin Olsen was going to keep a clean sheet until the 78th minute, I would have said you were absolutely on LSD, because he looked like he was on work experience for the first quarter of an hour of the game. He really did. He was poor, like. So he wasn't poor. He was nervous. Nervous is the right word.
And that's exactly what I said for his first few interactions with the game. It was a bit worrying, but he did grow into it, and he looks like he could be. And we had Tom Heaton as backup goalkeeper till we couldn't hold him back either. You do have to, if you are going to compete. Now, hopefully the situation doesn't come about where we do have to stand down our goalkeeper like we did on Sunday too often, because Emi Martinez has near enough been an ever-present since he arrived. I don't think I can remember worrying about an injury with him at any stage. He didn't play against... Jed Steer played in the Carabao Cup game at... Name escapes me. Who do we beat 6-0 up along the coast there? Barrow. Yeah. Steer played that game, I'm pretty sure. Well, it wasn't Emi Martinez anyway.
Yeah. And Akash Anodi who left the club during the week. He no, that wasn't this year. That was the year before. That was the year before that he played goals against Liverpool in the
against
cup.
Liverpool. Yeah,
But he left the club this year. Obviously, he was on loan at, well, not obviously, you might not have known. He was on loan at Sporting Bromsgrove, wasn't it,
yeah.
for the season this year? And there is, I don't know if he's in the audience today, but Ben Ben underscore Hop. I can't remember what it is, but yeah, he was trying to get us to. I think it was, what was it, Paddy? It was like 75 quid to sponsor him in the match. Sponsor Akash Nodi in the
Yeah.
match program for Sporting Bromsgrove. We thought about it long and hard. Because Paddy took a shine to Akash Nodi in that game that he played against Liverpool, but he will be moving on to pastures new. But also on Robin Olsen, I think AVFC Stato makes a great point here below. He says, I don't think our defenders passing back to him helped his confidence. There was a lot of hospital passes. Yeah, I was really like Konza was another, or sorry, not Konza. Chambers was another guy in the, well, Konza, I was going to say Konza as a hospital pass. That was an awful thing to say. But and we do wish him well. We do wish him well in his recovery, and hopefully it does go well, and we see him back for pre-season or before it. But Chambers, should I say, did give a couple of wobbly ones back to him. You know, Chambers wasn't exactly Mr. Confidence himself either for the first quarter of the game.
And he was another guy who grew into the game, in fairness to him. And if like when you're that rusty as Olsen is, and Chambers hadn't played in weeks and then came in for Konza, so the one thing the 5 substitutes will give us next year is the ability to bring in these guys and rotate when games are done and dusted. If not, bring in and change the game. But obviously, you won't be bringing in a centre half to change the game. But you know that will give us the opportunity to put in Chambers in there to take off whoever the centre half is, or put in Mings in there if he's the sub at that stage, depending on who we buy. But look, we can draw a line under it. I'm still pretty annoyed. I'm also annoyed that VAR didn't look at the challenge on Watkins in the first half, considering that the first foul Mings made, he could not wait to get that yellow card out of his pocket to lay down a marker. So absolutely drive me mad, these celebrity referees. They can't make a decision to save their lives when it's Aston Villa or a team outside of the, we'll call them the other 14. But how the last man can put an arm across a player like that and not be even looked at, it really begs belief.
But for me,
and you know, when I saw the three wise men retiring, whose names will never cross my lips again, I hope. I hoped we'd see a change in the guard and a change to how things are done. But you know, Michael Oliver is a young referee. I thought that was a pretty poor decision to make, even on field. Without, it was perfectly obvious there was contact. It was Fernandinho, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, made no attempt to play the ball. He was the last man. I just don't get how he stays on the pitch there, because once there's contact, he's the last man between the goal. No, I haven't seen it back because they're very limited in what they showed as well, because they didn't want to ruin their TV series of a title race. But there was a number of occasions where it didn't show enough of a replay for my liking from our end. That needs to change as well. We need to be treated with respect, and we need to be treated with fair play. But look, I'm crying over spilt milk here at this stage. We threw it away. The decision to take off Coutinho changed the game, and we lost the game ourselves. It's completely it.
Yeah.
We should have been 3-0 up at half time. At that stage, there was no way back for them. Even Manchester City, I don't think.
We're not even really going to go into their goals because, as I say, we could be here for another half hour. We've already 29 minutes done.
Yeah.
One thing I will say in the match, though, Paddy, is that Aston Villa brought a sizable travelling crowd to the game, and they were, by all accounts, based on, you know, everything that we've heard, that we've seen pictures of what happened to people there. They were pretty poorly treated, from the point of view of flares being thrown into the crowd, coins hitting people. That's shit. Like, you know, that shouldn't happen. It shouldn't happen in any situation. Never mind, we haven't even gotten on to the fact that that Robin Olsen was
Yeah,
I don't want to use the word assault because it looked like he got punched in the back of the head and he wasn't too harmed by it. But like if you're like what number one, what you're a grown man, stop running onto the field and hitting players for God's sake.
yeah,
You know, and like no matter what age you are, whether you're 4 years of age or 40 years of age, why would you go hitting a player? Like so stupid. People
yeah,
like genuinely people need to stop doing that. Club like the clubs need to start policing that, and the FA needs to start policing that with points deductions and hefty fines. I'm talking fines in the millions for that, and if millions
mm,
go to charity because such a waste of time for that to happen. But for me, the fan situation is something that's worth highlighting. Flares aren't supposed to be brought into grounds. I know it happens every single week in every single stadium, but yeah, use your flare for what you want to use it for in your part of the ground.
yeah,
Don't go chucking it into the away fans. They're dangerous. There was a couple of women got
absolutely.
badly burnt. A couple of
Yeah,
kids got badly burnt. By that flare. So,
mm,
win with grace. I think
yeah,
is something that needs to be shown. And maybe show up for your the homecoming the next day and for the open top buses. Everybody, that might be something that you might do as well instead of throwing flares to the away fans.
yeah. And look, we're not angels ourselves. We have fans who are more than
No, we're
capable
not.
of
But
making
and this goes to
bad
every
decisions.
fan base.
Yeah, but it's what happened to Robin Olsen is inexcusable. What happened to Billy Sharp is inexcusable. You may have noticed there was a video doing the rounds of Man City fans trying to get at the Villa fans. I would like the Premier League to look at the very limited segregation between the two sets of fans. Obviously, an opportunity to sell more tickets because
Oh, big.
there was literally just a line of policemen between the two sets of fans. Obviously, a barrier, but to a line of policemen, it's not good enough. That's not good enough segregation for me. And if the behaviour continues, of what we've seen in the last week with Billy Sharp, Robin Olsen, uh, even Patrick Vieira, I think Patrick Vieira was dead right. The only problem I had with what he did was he didn't kick him hard enough.
Yeah, I didn't. You didn't stand over him and give him more of a kick. And yeah, that's the only problem
Yeah,
I don't have
but
with
look,
that.
I'm joking now, but the continuation of this means we're back in cages, and they start putting cages around the pitches,
Yeah.
and we've come so far since the bad days that it would be an absolute sin to be back to those days, and that's my ultimate worry. I know it's the time of year for it, generally 99.9999% of people are out there just to celebrate and have a bit of fun and to say they got onto the pitch, and that's absolutely fine. But
And
when
that's
people's
fine. I have no
safety
problem with it.
yeah,
Exactly, Paddy. Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry.
yeah. So it's just my worry when people's safety come into it, then it's an issue.
Mm.
And look, I hoped that the guy that assaulted Billy Sharp was going to get years as opposed to months. I thought it
4
was a
weeks.
terrible sentence to dish out for somebody who, let's be honest, he could have killed him with a headbutt like that.
It was an awful one.
Absolute crazy stuff.
Mm.
Absolutely crazy.
And
So
then you see people like Ali McBurney is being hauled over the coals for giving a fella a shoeing on the ground. Um,
yeah,
like the field is the players' like when Eric Dyer went into the stands to accost the fan, Eric Dyer rightfully felt the brunt. No, probably not for long enough. Probably happened for
mm,
about a day or two, and he was stood down from the team for a while, and he's made his way back into the good graces again. And he's, as I've said before, Eric Dyer is like the bad smell. He just literally keeps coming back in that Spurs team. And we've spoken to Matt Hayes on this podcast previously before. Eric Dyer is probably the most consistent defender over the last 8 years. So he's always
mm,
there and he always finds favor. But he went into the stand to accost the fan. That's not on either. The stand is the fans area. The pitch is the players area. Yes, if you want to come into the pitch
absolutely.
area,
Yeah.
behave yourself and do not go about taking on the fans. And I know emotions run
Mhm.
high. Like I've no problem with a pitch invasion. Invade the pitch. Hug your heroes. Don't punch someone as you're walking past them, or
Mhm.
go to manager. Because as you said, cages are the next step, and that's
Yeah,
not fun.
and that's the worry. That really is the worry. And look, we won't give it the time it deserves. It doesn't need more than what we have to say. But look, I hope Robin Olsen is okay. He appeared to be okay. It wasn't as bad as the Billy Sharp one, but equally as unacceptable.
Yeah. Right. Who wants to talk about transfers now that the messing is out of the way?
Is that me done? Will I go now?
Take a seat, Paddy. Take a seat. Sit down. Let me regale you of a couple of tales. But no, there's been a couple of obviously we've got Boubacar Kamara in, unless you've been living under a rock, and we do have a video on it. If you haven't watched the video, it's a new one. It's a good one. I'd like you to watch it. I was delighted to be on the Claret and Blue podcast as well with Dan Rollinson during the week too, and I was as giddy as what's as giddy as a goat? As giddy as a March hare? What is it? I don't know. Whatever it was. Anyway, I was in good form when I was chatting to him, and I had about 8 coffees on board. So I think at one stage he nearly had to interject to stop me from talking but what's new, I suppose. But since then we've had a kind of a plethora of links, I think it's fair to say. And I'm going to say they're spurious links, but we're going to talk about them. I may have mentioned it on the podcast before, but I do have a scouting series / transfer rumor series that I want to put out. I am hoping to do as many of these, like a 30 podcasts in 30 days situation where I talk about players I like around Europe and I think could fit in with Aston Villa Football Club. And I'm hoping to get that started soon. I'm also looking to do a loan watch to try and get fans of the teams that we have had players on loan with to come in and Batman and Robin. Botman and Robin. That is brilliant. Shane,
that is the headline of the week, I think.
I'm getting that in a t-shirt. Anyway, for sure, if we sign Sven Botman. But yeah, look, we're looking to get out a load of content anyway during the summer. That's essentially what I was trying to say. So don't go anywhere and click the button, click the little bell beside the YouTube button and to let you know when we do go live. But let's start with Sven Botman, because it's a spurious enough link. And look at this for production value. Aston Villa are thought to be one of a number of clubs monitoring whether or not AC Milan will wrap up the signing of Sven Botman from Lille. And that came from John Percy at the back post and Matt Law. Now, I love the way this is written. I'm not having a go at either of these two guys. I love them. They're two of the more tier 1 type guys that you can find. They do really good articles. Absolutely fantastic. But I love the way this is written. Aston Villa are thought to be one of a number of clubs that are monitoring whether or not AC Milan will wrap up the signing of Sven Botman. So at the moment, Sven Botman is signing for AC Milan, and Aston Villa they think that Aston Villa might be one of a number of clubs that are looking on to see whether or not AC Milan can wrap up the signing. Long story short, Sven Botman is really good. He's really well thought of. He's dominated French football as a centre half for a long period of time. I do have a feature on him coming out very soon, just to talk about him, because he is somebody that I do want to talk about as a centre half. And yeah, for me, I think that he would be an absolute, he would be another one of those marquee signings is what I would nearly call him, considering what we've, like, Boubacar Kamara for me is a huge signing. The love that guy has gotten, the likes of Philippe Auclair, Andy Brazil, a lot of these guys, the guys who know French football, are saying, listen, Boubacar Kamara is a steal, probably signing of the summer so far, and probably won't be beaten. I think Sven Botman will be up there as well if he was to come to a team like Aston Villa, but I wouldn't be getting my hopes up for Sven Botman, is basically what I'm saying, because AC Milan are after winning the Scudetto, and they've got a ton of money, new owners, new impetus. But it's nice to think that maybe we would be able to fish in the same pond as AC Milan for somebody like Sven Botman. Paddy, do you know much about him? Do you know much about Botman?
That's your department, Neil. I know who he is. I know he's a decent player. I'll row in on the argument with AC Milan. I don't believe that Italy is the one sought after place to be as it was back when we were growing up in the 80s and the 90s. I don't think it carries the same weight as being in the Premier League. I don't think you see the worldwide coverage that the Premier League gets when you're in Italy, and I don't think you get the money that you get when you're in the Premier League that you do in Italy. So I would never rule out a player coming to us over going to Italy with no way whatsoever, regardless of who he's signing for. And let's be honest, Boubacar Kamara has turned down Champions League football with Marseille and with Atletico Madrid to come to us. So why would Sven Botman not come to Aston Villa? He might have to wait another year for European football. And, if these signings come the way they're coming, I absolutely believe we'll be in some kind of European competition this time next year.
Well, all I'll say, Paddy, is, do you know what? I might as well just share up here with him. Share the screen here because, realistically speaking, if Sven Botman says no to you, you probably take his first answer. Look at him. He looks like he's going to kill someone every time. There isn't you can't find a photo of Sven Botman where he's happy with life. He's just he looks like he wants to kill people. He's like, do you know what? If Rocky ever came back for that next fight, he'd fight Sven Botman, and it would be Sven Botman would be Dolph Lundgren's son or something along those lines. So madness. He looked like, that's what I like about him. He looks like he looks like he takes no prisoners.
Yeah,
and when he plays
eats glass for breakfast.
Yeah, when he plays in the field, he's pretty sturdy. He's only 22 years of age. Like, he's done it. He's played at Ajax to a high level. He's played at Lille to a high level. He's going to be, one way or another, he's going to be going to a team next year. I don't think he'll stay with Lille. I think he's going to be moving on. Now, he's been mooted with going to Newcastle and Everton recently. He's mooted with going to what other teams we're looking at him in the Premier League. But you're right that the Premier League is a massive, massive draw. And look, once again, people talk about it as a negative from other teams. We saw a guy today. Remember, we were commenting in our WhatsApp group. A fellow was actually saying it as a negative that don't confuse this for a project, confuse it for a money team. And I was going, show me a team that upgrades their squad without spending money. You absolute idiot. So it was if we can throw around the money and stay within FFP, do it. Absolutely do it. Why not? Like, we're here for a good time, not for a long time. That's my view.
Well, look, does FFP exist? Only if you're poor, I think.
Yeah. If you're QPR are the only team that's ever really fallen victim of FFP, and maybe AC Milan actually, that we talk about them. Maybe AC Milan.
Juventus too, did they? Juventus relegated?
Well, they were relegated because of match fixing, Paddy.
Right, okay.
That was something quite different. Yeah. But
look, as far as I'm concerned, when you see Chelsea getting off their transfer bans, when you see Man City having been banned from Europe for 2 or 3 years and served nothing, only a fine, which was basically pocket change to their owners, does financial fair play exist? Or are they just guidelines when you're rich? I don't think they exist. So, look, if they're going to start clamping down on this, we may as well spend the money now until they do start, because we'll just fall further behind. And, this link with Sven Botman is you could really buy into it, judging by the character of player he's bringing in. We've brought in one 22-year-old. We signed Coutinho, who's 29. We're quite obviously going to sign Luis Suarez, who's 36. So it needs to be balanced up. You need to bring in the youth with the old. You need to bring in the experience with the inexperience. I would go as far as saying I would be hopeful that this one could happen. Not so much the Bissouma one. We'll get to that in a minute. But this one, I would be quite hopeful it would happen.
Yeah. Ronnie Murphy wants to know, when did I last eat my coaching badge? A lot of punctuation in there, so I don't know if I've got the full context to this. But a guy by the name of Neil with 2 L's in his name is still talking rubbish anyway. Man, Ronnie, thanks for watching as always.
If Ronnie wants a coaching badge to eat, I've one under there.
Yeah, exactly.
Give it my manual.
It's great stuff. Yeah. Have a great evening, sir. Slancha says Botman would be some signing, but can't see us coaxing him away from all the prying eyes. That's kind of the way I feel as well. I'm not sure whether we would get him, but it'd be great if we do. But then again, I didn't really think we'd get Coutinho back in January, and then we did. And look, Boubacar Kamara is here.
Yeah.
Like as Paddy
And you
said,
know
there's
that
other
argument,
things
that Boubacar Kamara argument is going to keep coming up and up again, because we had given up on this last week. He was gone. We heard Atletico Madrid and went, that's it, dead in the water. And now he's our
not
player.
all of us, Paddy. Not all of us.
Well, if you would only have to look at Twitter that day to see that everybody thought it was dead in the water. We have serious pulling power now. We have one of the best players in the world, albeit not the best manager just yet. We've one of the best players in that midfield position, who would have a lot of pulling power for the modern day player who grew up watching Steven Gerrard, playing for Liverpool, winning European Cups, playing for England at World Cups. He is a huge attraction to this club, and we've plenty of money.
I think so too. I think we do have plenty of money for sure.
Yeah, and remember, most of the good teams in Europe are stacked at that level as well. They've plenty of central defenders, with the exception of Man City, who probably need to buy one. But let's just hope we're not gazumped there.
Yeah, yeah, there is something in that. Like, for once, Man City probably don't need to go away and blow 50-60 million on a centre half, or maybe they do. They've come across some defensive worries or defensive woes with injuries this season, but I think with Laporte, Stones, Ake, and the likes that they have there, that they're not going to be in the market for somebody. But you never know. Pep likes to spend the cash, as we know. But talking about defenders as well, Paddy, is not the only defender that we've been in contact with. James Tarkovsky seems to be a never-ending rumor over the last couple of days as well. Obviously, free transfer. To be honest, he's probably somebody that, if he is a free transfer, he's somebody we've probably been talking to for quite a while at this stage. Not obviously since January, like we could with Boubacar Kamara, because he was moving outside of his league. But with Tarkovsky, you have to be kind of weary of the tapping up laws and things like that. But I would imagine, I think you can still talk to players after March, if I'm not mistaken, provided that that they've notified their club that they won't be signing a new contract. And Tarkovsky looks like isn't going to be signing a new contract and moving on to pastures new. I've done a piece on Tarkovsky, but I've kind of softened on my view to him a small bit, and the reason that I've softened is because I think that I had an epiphany when we signed Kamara, that we probably won't be looking to have our defenders to be those all singing, all dancing players back there, and that our pivots are going to be the guys that are going to be the distributors of the ball. And if that is the case, and we do have disciplined, drilled defenders, not saying that Mings and Kanza can't be those after a good preseason, but if he's looking for more discipline in defense, you probably can't do much better than James Tarkovsky on a free transfer. To come in as your third defender, as a disciplined defender, because that's what he's been brought up in his bread and butter with Burnley over the last couple of years.
And look, regardless of what happens, come whatever the 8th of August when we restart, we are going to have 5 centre halves in there, regardless of whether we still have Mings, Konza, Chambers, whoever. There will be 5 centre halves in there that we need to choose from, and you need 5. So this, to me, is a no-brainer, to bring in a guy with Premier League experience. Anytime I see him, he's a decent, solid central defender. He's not by any means world class, but by God, would he be good if one of our players went down with an injury like what happened with Konza last week? Absolutely no problem throwing him in there. He's a good player, and to get him on a free would just, I see there's I'll just bring it up there if I can find it there. Rex says Everton are offering. There's no way we're going to pay him $100,000 a week.
No,
I just can't see that. So if Everton, who, let's face it, have wasted an awful lot of money in the last few years, are paying $100,000 a week for James Tarkovsky, I'd be worrying about their if they're not already worrying about their recruitment policies, I'd be worrying even more.
I know, and it does happen more often than it doesn't. Don't get me wrong in this, but when a player's on a free transfer, he picks what team he wants to go to, and sometimes like there, that's why I say, like, more often than not, cash is going to be king in this. They're going to go for the highest offer. But Tarkovsky probably has one last shot at number one, a big contract, and number two, maybe having a swan song to his career in getting up the league. Maybe he doesn't see that under Frank Lampard. 100 grand may not be enough to soften the blow for him. Like, if Villa were offering, let's just say Villa were offering 80 grand and Everton were offering 100 grand. And he was thinking, "Ooh, I might get more playing time at Villa." And Villa seem to be going places under Steven Gerrard. They've got a bit of a swell underneath them. They're signing players like Boubacar Kamara. Potentially, they could be signing Uruguayan strikers that we'll be talking about in a moment. And it could work that way. I'm not saying it will. I'm not saying it won't. And to be honest with you, 99% of people do just go for the money to get their last paycheck, because this is going to be Tarkovsky's last real big paycheck. So, so you are right in exactly what you say, Rex, there. But I think in certain instances that it will definitely be down to the player's preference as to where he wants to go, and if he prefers to go to Aston Villa. Maybe he just thinks.
So he makes a really good comment here. Maybe he likes the claret colour. But so he says, how can Everton offer 100 grand a week with so much wasted already and hanging over them over the Leeds Burnley complaints? He has a decent point there, because we heard it last week that they were complaining about the money Everton had spent. So yeah, good point, well made.
Calvin Bassey, Paddy.
This guy I do have an opinion on, and
Paddy has an opinion on Calvin Bassey, and it probably doesn't fit the narrative of 99% of the people that are watching. I have a piece coming out on Calvin Bassey soon, and like Paddy, I was iffy on him until I started really looking into him. I got into Y Scout and I started looking at what he was doing, and I started looking at a lot of clips of him and stuff. But he's good. He's good. He is as solid a tackler as I've seen at 22 years of age in British football in the last 3 years.
I am not overly convinced. I'm not overly convinced whatsoever. And I've seen him in the flesh.
At left back or at centre half?
At centre half. At centre half. I saw him a few weeks ago in the Glasgow derby, and when he wasn't lying on his backside, he looked like a fella that was caught in the headlights to me. I watch Scottish football because I support a team up there. I just don't rate him. I think he can be got at. If you remember a few years ago, Liverpool saw VAR coming in and got rid of Martin Skrtel because he was like an American wrestler when the ball came into the box. That's the way Bassey is for me. People give out about Callum Chambers being all hands on players. This fella is a different world altogether. Now, bear in mind that they've no VAR in Scottish football, so he's getting away with it. So I'd be interested to see how he'd survive, because every header he wins, he's up on someone's back. And if it's a low one, he's pulling out of them. He's got their shorts. He's got their short. I reckon he's a time bomb, and I would stay well clear of this one. But I'm open to persuasion, but I don't think now is the right time for him. I think it might. Well, it depends on whether we bring him in and nurture him. But I definitely don't see him coming in and starting many Premier League games.
No, and that's the reason I asked you centre half or left back. I think if he comes to this club, I think he's going to be playing left back. He's had a very I think he's going to be like, but you see, Dini's no spring chicken either. Like, Dini's 29, and I think that he'll deputise left back. Like, he's going to come in for Courtney House. He's going to be that understudy. Potentially could play centre half, could play left back, and he's going to be that utility player. Very good to have within the squad. He's played 23 games at centre half for Rangers, and he's played 20 games at left back. He's come on as a sub 11 times. So he's a very small sample set for a player, but he's as assured in the tackle as they come. As you say, the intangibles of what you see where he's pulling out of players and things like that. His tackling technique is brilliant. It really is. And as I say, I have a piece in him coming up. His tackling technique is brilliant, but he does get dribbled past, and he may not be the fastest player in the world, But if we were to bring in a guy to hunker down at left back and to maybe like the thing with Dina is he goes very far forward. Like he sometimes, as we've said before, he could be our furthest player forward in the team. Calvin Bassey could be a more defensive minded left back. He can also move into centre half. He's 6 foot and 1/2 of an inch. So he's not a giant either, like, you know. He's
No, and when he's playing a left back, he does get up and down the wing. In fairness to him, he's got a decent cross of the ball. I'm not totally against him. I just think there's a lot of work left at the moment to get him up to Premier League level. I have seen him. I've seen him in the flesh, and I thought this guy was just a time bomb. And but I've watched him on a number of occasions. I watched him last week in the Europa League final. He is a decent player. Whether he can cut it at Premier League level, I'm not too sure.
Yeah, and that's okay too. Like he had a great Europa League final. That saving tackle was just amazing. We were actually doing a podcast at the time, and I was like, I stopped in my tracks in the middle and went, "What a tackle!" It was just at the end of extra time, and he has that in his locker. That wasn't the once off. He does that quite regularly, and he's got very decent tackling statistics. You know, for a centre half as well. He does an awful lot of tackling. He does an awful lot of assured tackling. I was just about to highlight that.
To prove I'm not biased, I put up this comment. Bassey's an absolute beast. Rangers in my blood. This is not me speaking. This is Scrumps. So my second team now. I live in Glasgow. I watch him most weeks in Europe. His driving runs are like a juggernaut. He's a decent footballer. I think he's not a complete defender, but you know, by all means, people are entitled to their opinion.
He's only a year and a half of senior football as well, because he came from the Leicester under 23
Leicester Academy. I'd rather see him. I'd say even if we signed him, we might even send him on loan somewhere. Maybe just to get experience. But like, is it worth the kind of money they're going to look for? When we have a comment here from Soy, who's on the ball again tonight with this one. I'd rather get Hickey than Bassey. That would be my thinking too. So don't know what more I can say about that. So if we're buying Bassey as a replacement left back, we should forget about it and buy Hickey.
Yeah. Which one will we go for next? We'll leave that guy to last. So we're going to go with Mr. Suarez. Has come out and said he's leaving. And he's decided where he's not decided where he's going to play next. He's received many proposals. Clubs from Argentina, Brazil, and Mexico have approached me, but he wants to stay to play at top competitive level again, and he's focused in Europe. And I think the word again there is a giveaway. And I think Luis Suarez is going to be an Aston Villa footballer.
Well, not only do I think Luis Suarez is going to be an Aston Villa footballer, I think Luis Suarez will be an Aston Villa footballer before the players assemble for international break on Friday. And that is D-Day. Really? Yeah. When you think about it now, the clubs have released all their players. They're all gone off for a few days holidays, and the international players have to be on duty on Friday. And that's when our coaching team will go on holidays themselves. So if anything is to be done, it'll be done by Friday. If anything is lined up, it'll be done by Friday. So I think we can judge whether we're going to sign Luis Suarez, whether it's not done. If it's done by the weekend, we're going to sign him. If not, he's chosen to go somewhere else.
I think that's it. I'm not going to go into too much detail on him. Once again, I do have another podcast on Luis Suarez ready to go. Or I will have one should he sign. You know, I've got the data ready on him, and he's an interesting look into what's happened with him over the last 3 years. It's interesting to see what his statistics were like and how he played with Barcelona, and then how the change of tactics and manager have affected him in both positive and negative ways over the last 2 seasons since he's been under Diego Simeone. So I wouldn't write off Luis Suarez as the type of player that people thought he was, because I think that he's adapted his game. But look, all to be written soon, all to be spoken about, if it ever did come to fruition. And I'm lastly, but certainly not leastly, Goal.com today, or was it 90 minutes? It was instead. We're saying that Aston Villa are still keen on signing Yves Bissouma for 30 million, even though we've signed Boubacar Kamara already. This was muted as well once again in the January transfer window. Steven Gerrard actually broke from his normal mold and spoke about that there was a bid in, if I'm not mistaken, for Bissouma. Just after the transfer window, but we couldn't get it done. We were too far apart in valuations. I'm open to correction on that as to whether he actually named Bissouma. But I think that we are in for Yves Bissouma. I think he would be a nice complement to what we have with Boubacar Kamara. If you watched my Boubacar Kamara video already, you will see that the two of them would dovetail nicely from the point of view of where their skill sets would lie. And there is a dark side to, I suppose, signing Yves Bissouma and to what the situation is with him, with stuff that has been alleged that hasn't been cleared up just yet. So from this point of view, and it does need to be mentioned, I do think. But from that point of view, I think footballer on the field, very complementary to what we have already. From the point of view that he's a complete metronome once again. If we are going to have more tough tackling defenders, or we're going to keep our defenders home, and we're going to have pivots in the middle of the field that are going to dictate the play, Yves Bissouma is somebody who can do that, as can Boubacar Kamara. So I would not be averse to that. For 30 million, yeah, absolutely. I was completely against signing him for 50 million. I just didn't think he was worth 50 million when we get Rodrigo Bentancur for 18. And during January, madness. Bentancur has been brilliant since he's come to the Premier League, better than Bissouma. So I just didn't see the value in signing Bissouma for 50 million. 30 million, absolutely. I'd sign him for that in the morning, provided that his off the field transgressions are cleared up and that we're fully okay with what went on and what didn't go on, and that there isn't going to be any repercussions from that. Alleged off the field transgressions. I do apologize.
Alleged, obviously, yeah, and that's the key thing in this. I feel exactly the same way as you. 50 million, I thought was absolute bonkers money, but if we're getting them for 30 million, I think that's probably a worthwhile signing. It does beg the question, that is he bringing in Boubacar to play possibly in the centre of defence or possibly at an 8. It just gives more steel in there. But he's a good player, but he won't be playing anywhere else but a 6.
We're playing a flat midfield next season.
You think?
Take it from me. Yeah. I've seen enough on what Steven Gerrard has played to this point that he wants to get players in that can play the way Liverpool do with that flat midfield. Yeah, people will drop back into the 6th position, but we will start with a flat midfield with players who can do it. Like Jordan Henderson, nobody would ever think of Jordan Henderson as being a holding midfielder. Yet at times this season he's filled in for Fabinho and played there because they start with the flat midfield. They dictate possession. They move forward in blocks, and then allows Henderson to stay home if needs be. And for me, controversy alert, I think Jordan Henderson is one of the most underrated players in the whole of the Premier League. So there you go. Take that one to the bank and cash it. Keith Cassidy says there, if we do get Bissouma, Dougie will be gone. I wouldn't be so sure on that either. I think that we can afford to run down Dougie's contract if we want to, or if he wants to. And I think with the 5 subs next season, and with the fact that I do think Morgan Sanson is not too long for this club, that we're going to need bodies in midfield if we are going to compete. So if you think about it, Tim-Eric Boonham is probably going to go out on loan. I'm not 100% sure Nakamba is going to be here next season. There's my other controversial piece. I'm not 100% sure.
Well, we'll do, Neil. Maybe not this week. We'll save it for the international. We'll come on
now, haven't I?
We'll come on and we'll get the whole squad list, and we'll give both our opinion. Stay, go, loan, whatever, and we'll put that together maybe next week.
Yeah. Jesus, Paddy, we're on an hour and 5 minutes. Don't be long going. Does
We're
it?
on a roll.
We're on a roll, is right. We're on a roll. We don't have too many other transfers. Actually, we don't have any other transfers, but we do have a lot of comments, and I feel like I've completely neglected these comments. So I'm actually going to start at the bottom and work our way back up here. There's a couple of people. Yes, so Mark Hogan says, imagine Archer learning from Suarez and Ings. And I think that's I think that could be half the reason why we could be bringing in somebody like Suarez. I think because he hasn't been put out to pasture yet, not by a long shot. Luis Suarez has not been put out to pasture yet, not by a long shot. There was talk about Nunes, Darwin Nunes. I am optimistic. I'm an optimistic soul at the best of times. If we sign Darwin Nunes, I would do some forfeit. I don't know what it would be. I would probably, I don't know, wear a Blues jersey or something like that.
No, you wouldn't.
I would be confident that Darwin Nunes, like we talk about money, I just don't even think we can match anything that could come Darwin Nunes' way. Believe me, I'd love it if we did. In fact, okay, let's get into it. One of the strikers that I would absolutely adore at Aston Villa is Gianluca Scamacca from Sassuolo. Now there's a guy I could really get on board with, but I don't think we've a hope in hell of signing him either. But look, it's I think striker. I think bringing in someone like Suarez would be smart. Bringing him in as a striker, because he's a similar type of striker, but he's also very good at what the other guys don't do well, which is instinctive finishes. For me,
I think we're in a really good position, buy-in position. When you talk about, a couple of people have mentioned him there, Julian Alvarez. Julian Alvarez comes to Aston Villa, he sees Premier League football straight away. He goes to Man City, he might never see it.
I think Julian Alvarez starts up front for him next year. Oh well, no, sorry.
Behind the Haaland.
Sorry. I completely forgot about a certain Mr. Erling Haaland. Absolutely.
Well, and it's the same. Unless a club in that position is signing you with the intention of playing you, I think it's absolute madness. So you're looking at a team like us with huge ambition, and you're in a position to go in there and make that your own. What's not? Why would you not want to come? I just don't get it. So I wouldn't rule out anybody. If somebody is there to be bought, I wouldn't rule out anybody.
And like from everything we've seen and the transfers we've made, Steven Gerrard can convince people. Luka Dean, Philippe Coutinho, Boubacar Kamara, they're a high level type of transfer. Rex Colt makes a good point here as well. Bissouma and Kamara would make a formidable midfield too. I agree. Yeah. Like there aren't going to be too many midfields that are going to be able to swarm you, and even if they press high, we've got those guys will be able to evade pressures and get balls away, get passes away, and they'll be able to leave that foot in if needed. If things got a bit tasty. So it's an exciting one for sure for what their skill sets and how they would complement each other for sure. Where else have we there? Paddy, this is an interesting question, completely off topic, but Leighton Castle says, lads, any other than new players coming in, any news who would be the new under-23s coach now that Delaney has gone? I read an interesting piece today that it would probably make sense for Aaron Danks to drop down based on the fact that we have a stacked first team bench.
Yeah. I don't know. I would consider that under 23 role a bit of a poison chalice when you bear in mind what Porslow said earlier in the season with regards to if a player is not knocking on the door for first team football at 19, 20, they're out the door. So realistically, we are only going to be playing our over 18s and under 20s in that under 23s team, or players who are coming back from injury. And even at that, I think Nakamba only played one game after his long layoff. We had someone else fairly big come on and play. We're not utilising that there because I don't know what they have to gain from it.
Courtney House and Callum Chambers played as centre halves for the
Yeah.
under 23s.
So I don't see what they gain from playing for under 23s that they wouldn't get in a training game at Bodymore Heath. So I think it's a bit of a poison chalice. I think it's something that the club are not too pushed on. So for me, I don't know whether somebody can double up and do that job with the under 18s, which is probably a better option. It's not something I'd be throwing money at anyway.
Wayne Mullen says Bellotti and a free. I always thought Andrea Bellotti would be a fantastic player in the Premier League. I think he's now north of 30, and I think with AC Milan winning the Scudetto, I think I'd be putting mortgages on Andrea Bellotti rocking up at the San Siro next season for AC Milan. Just makes a ton of sense for them with an aging Zlatan and the way that they play since he's been out of the team. I think it makes a ton of sense that he makes the move to Pioli's team and plays with AC Milan next season. But yeah, I think he would. I think he would have had a very, very fruitful. I think sometimes, a lot of times, Italian strikers come into the Premier League and they find it difficult to settle and they find it difficult to play. But I think Bellotti could have been one that could have cracked the nut on the Premier League. I think he could have.
Just before you move on to another comment, we kind of glossed over it there, but Mark Delaney has left the club, and it'd be wrong of us to not thank him for what he's done for the club. You know, the guy got injured very, very early, very young, and gave us good service when he was playing for us. And I think he's given us 15 years in coaching. So, you know, when you consider what we've brought through the young system, he deserves an awful lot of credit, and hopefully he gets a job that will be worthwhile to him and with a decent club that pays him well, because he deserves it.
Yeah, I think so too. I don't really have. There's people talking about Phillips going to Calvin Phillips going to City. I know that we've been linked with Calvin Phillips, but
I don't think he goes anywhere now, does he? I think they'd be mad to sell him now.
I think he does. I think he goes. I think he goes, and I think it's like one of those end of the transfer window things, kind of like Jack Grealish did for us, because I think England will tell him, "Hey, lad, move on." I think Leeds will fall victim of the way that we did with Jack Grealish last season. That his star is beginning to shine bright with England at the moment, and England will move him on. I personally hope for Leeds fans that he doesn't go to Man United. And I hope for the rest of the league that he doesn't go to Man City, because the way that Man City are retooling year after year after year and bringing in Erling Haaland, like it's like the prospect of winning the league is getting further and further and further away, even for teams like Arsenal, perennial title hopes of Arsenal, Chelsea, United. Maybe even, I know Spurs haven't won it, but they've gotten close. They've gotten close to running those guys and giving them games and stuff like that. And you know, the league is becoming very top heavy with the two teams they have at the top. One is spending like a drunken sailor in Man City, and the other one, Liverpool, isn't as much. And there's going to come a time when Liverpool are going to have to open their wallet as well, and maybe start to retool soon. And if they don't do it soon, the gulf could be absolutely astronomical from Man City to everybody else. So that worries me an awful lot. And if Phillips was to go to City, I'd be seriously deflated for the overall spectacle of the Premier League, should I say, because it's going to turn into Rosenborg in the Norwegian League style 10 in a row territory, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I agree.
We're going to leave it at that, guys. I'm going to wrap this up very abruptly because we're an hour and 13 minutes on. It's been great crack, though. And we've had over 200 people watching at all times, and I really, really appreciate that. We've really just, like, we had no concept for the podcast today. I hadn't spoken to Paddy in a while. I wanted to get on and get his view of the City game, and I'm delighted I did. And now we've gone down the transfer route as well. And as you know, I can't shut up about those. And we've got lots more coming on that as well. So as always, guys, could you give this a quick thumbs up before you do leave? Really appreciate that. If you aren't already subscribed to the YouTube channel, please do. If you aren't already subscribed to our audio podcast service, please subscribe to that. It costs you nothing at the end of the day, guys, to subscribe. Even the audio podcasts, even if you don't listen to podcasts, I'd really appreciate it if you could just subscribe. And if you do listen to them, and you could leave a 5-star review and maybe a written review as well on iTunes or on Spotify, that just really helps us, just shoots us up algorithms and stuff like that, and it gives us a bit of a shot in the arm. So we'd really appreciate that. And you guys do an awful lot. And before we leave today, I really want to say a heartfelt thanks. I do say it at the end of most podcasts, or if not all of them, but we're coming to the end of the year. Us as content creators, we're going nowhere for the rest of the off season. In fact, you'll probably even be sick of you're probably sick of seeing me anyway, as it is. You'll be even more sick of seeing me by the end of it, because I do have a lot of content to put out in the off season now that I have a bit of time to do so, and I hope you do stick around for that. But I really appreciate absolutely every single one of you to take the time to watch this podcast. There's like the names that come up in the comment section. I've gotten to know you guys. I feel like we've become great mates, and you know there's a lot of familiarity, and that the repeat interactions that we get really makes an awful lot of difference, and it makes us want to come on and to chat and to get to relay our opinions to you guys, and you guys to us through the comments as well. I appreciate everything you've done for us, and the podcast had exponential growth since we had Fabrizio Romano on in early August. I don't even think we had 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and while we're not going to be threatening the top of the charts in YouTube, we're not even anywhere near the likes of the Villa View or Carrot and Blue or Up the Villa podcast, who do all such great work. But the small group we have, really, really appreciate it, and we've grown so much since the start of the season, and it's not anything that we've done because we just talk shite the same as we did at the start of the season. It's all because of the interaction that you guys bring, and the positivity, I suppose, that you guys will bring, and the conversation points, should I say, that you guys bring throughout the podcast. So it means an awful lot, really, really does. And not just saying that, that's a genuine thanks a million for everything that you guys do, and you've done over the course of the season. But as I say, we're going nowhere. We're going nowhere, and we're going to talk shite for the rest of the off season as well. So buckle in for that one. But that is going to do it for us tonight. And as I say, Paddy has left you guys there with his prediction that Suarez is going to sign. We'll probably be back. Actually, Paddy, I think you're unavailable for the rest of the week, so I'll have to take the flak at some point. So after dropping.
If you listen back, I didn't say he was going to sign. I said if he's going to sign, it'll be done by Friday.
Very good. Yeah. That's very legalese talk that you got going on there. So if he does sign, we will be back with a breakdown of him and what he does and what he's done over the last few years. And I hope you guys will watch that too. If you haven't watched our Boubacar Kamara podcast, I'd really, really appreciate it if you would do it. If you even could retweet and share the podcast from Twitter, if you could go back and find it, I'd really appreciate that as well. Word of mouth is the best way of getting our podcast out there. But you guys know that already, and you do a fantastic job. So that's going to do it for us on Tuesday, the 24th of May. Appreciate you all for sticking around until almost 11 o'clock. You really must have nothing to do if you're listening to us for an hour and 17 minutes. But I do appreciate it. It's been a season, and we will be back with a season review probably next week at some stage. And until then, all that's left to say, guys, is thank you so much for everything you do. And as always, up the Villa.
Thanks, guys. Up the Villa.